what happens will be in the lap of the gods.
It's an interesting watch, absolutely.
What have you got for us, big fella?
Well, how is Goody? Simon Goodwin, the coach of Melbourne, how is he reinventing the Demons? No question about that. It was an impressive display against an unbeaten Geelong on Saturday twilight. It was just great to see. And you actually have a look at the different Ds. It's mainly about their ball movement. So we can talk about personnel and all sorts of things. Been a big talking point, hasn't it, for the Demons over the last few years. Look at the inside 50 differential. So that clearly shows they're going, well, let's get it inside 50 at all costs.
No.
This year, in previous years. This year, though, 15th. Yeah. So more nuanced. The build-up is more measured, if you want to call it that. And I think this is a great example. Now, granted against Geelong, there's no doubt they try to control it a little bit more, but there's no doubt across the board they've made the adjustment this year with their ball movement. They've gone from territory to more possession-based. And I thought this was a great example of the improvement in the D's movement game and the way they enter inside 50.
And this has been hard-earned because they've had a lot of inside 50s but haven't been able to get bang for buck in terms of scores for inside 50s and goals for inside 50s. Now, that one where Lever started, that probably goes there to a contest with 12, 14 blokes in it, and then they try and play the territory game from there. But they've chosen to, and Tom McDonald mentioned this morning on radio, we don't want to be as boring as we were in the past. So change the angle, make it harder to defend. And what we've seen is that the adaptation, not quite as many inside 50s, but far more scoring effect and bang for buck.
Yeah, no, that's real. This is like it's incremental. Like it hasn't dropped from it hasn't jumped from 14th to 2nd because it won't. Because their forward line isn't stacked with superstars, but they're getting better. And on the weekend it was Petty who got better from a rotten base, but Fritsch has been there consistent enough to keep them, up around 6th and 7th. So.
They were dominant in the aerial contest, weren't they? They were fantastic. Yeah. And that's a great effort against the stacked Geelong defence. Tom Stewart was back into that lineup, so that was a fantastic effort. Petty looked sensational there, Van Rooyen. And at the other end, Gaz, Tommy McDonald's job on Jeremy Cameron was fantastic. So, yes, we know he's a great runner, but he did let Cameron just go up the field and was really concerned once he got inside 60 or 70 metres. So there's some good things happening at either end as well. Cozzy Pickett was magnificent, 13 inside 50 tackles to the Demons. So I'm really liking where they're headed.
Well, it's a much different narrative to what it has been. So the culture question, I haven't heard it for a long time. It'll come back if they go on a rotten run because there is a concerted campaign within certain sections of the media to go after the footy club for reasons known to them. But right now they trust in each other, the playing group, and to play in the manner that they did where I sat and watched the game as an observer at the ground. It was great because we wanted to watch Myers because what we spoke about last week. And, he got up high, but when he came back, they just picked him off. Whoever was closest grabbed him, and until it settled, then they could readjust to get their man right. To play that style needs great trust. And I thought Goodwin coached magnificently, and I thought the players responded really, really well. Having said all that, they weren't far away, the Cats, with Jeremy Cameron in the dying moments. Yeah. It was a great win.
No, it was good. Great to see. Good young blokes. Just one quick one. Is Max Gawn the best ruckman you've ever seen? Now, I know you're great mates with Jimmy Steins.
Well, I will answer that in the negative, to keep him honest. Jimmy Steins, the Brownlow medalist, has got you covered, Max, for the moment, and Max will worry about that because he was his hero. But by the end of it all, we might revisit it in the end of his career. Bucks?
Well, looking forward to the Melbourne-Carlton matchup. My big question is, would you rather have 2 elite key defenders or 2 elite key forwards? And I reckon that's a great question. Which way?
It's a great question.
You don't say so yourself.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with it, and I want you to.
Right on, mate. Good job.
What say you, big forward units? What say you, big forwards?
Go on, Brownie. You go first.
No, you go first because I know what
I'm going to go the forwards because I think.
Are we talking Curnow and Mackay here, or are we just saying key forwards?
No,
take the names
we're
out.
Bringing it up on the basis that the 2 best pairing in the competition, Lever and May, are going up against arguably the two dominant forwards this week in Curnow and Mackay. So I'm going to go with the forward. I think it's harder to get the forwards because I looked through it all. These players, Liam Jones, started as a forward, went back. Sicily was a forward, went back. Tom McCartan was a forward, went back. Darcy Moore nominally was a forward as a junior, went back, and then also Jeremy Howe, who was a high-flying forward and went back and made a really good fist of it. So,
did you mention Sicily?
Sicily, yeah, I did. So I think in the end, if you get two big key forwards that can get the job done, then you've been pretty blessed.
What do you reckon, Bernie?
You take that every day of the week. They're just simply because they're harder to find. And I'm not just agreeing with Gaz, because I think I might have told Gaz my opinion this morning and he's wrong with it, because I thought you were going to go with defenders.
I
thought you were going to sell out.
I was, but I thought I got to stick to it.
So I know you guys are a little bit biased. I'd take the two key backs.
Would you?
I understand that the forwards are harder to find. It's a harder position to play.
Really?
Absolutely harder. But I think you've got to build from the back. Yeah. And if you've got those two key backs, if Carlton had a second Wiedering, I reckon they'd prefer that and to lose one of Curnow and Mackay, as much as harsh as that might sound.
Well, we'll get to Fremantle, who are a really interesting team, a little bit later in the show as well, who are really well served. Let's bring the window back. Every 4 weeks you're going to get the window, the Premiership window. Now, let's not forget, 18 of the last 19 premiers have been in the green part of the window. Those watching for the first time, top 6 in offence, top 6 in defence. There are 2 teams only in the window right now, and they are the grand finalists of 2022 in Sydney and Geelong. Now, it's interesting. The last 3 grand premiers have been in the window at round 8.
Well, there you go.
At round 8.
So the premier is now either Geelong or Sydney.
Well, that's history, and history's a great teacher. But if we can go back to it, the worry, and this is the concern, and we identified Port Adelaide, the window identified Port Adelaide last year. The concern this year is the mighty Blues. Have a look where the Carlton Football Club find themselves in the Premiership window. This is a genuine concern, and we're not mucking around here. They are keeping company with Richmond, North Melbourne, Hawthorn and West Coast, who have won 5 games from 32 outings between them. So we know how good and potent they are offensively. But this, Brownie, you alluded to this last week and you pointed to it, and it remains a massive issue. The Carlton Footy Club defensively are in a bit of trouble.
And one of the areas that they are leaking a little is in an area of strength. You know, we've spoken about their stoppage ability, and they're one of the. If we look at these numbers, they're the number 1 scoring team from stoppage, but they're actually in the bottom 3 for scores against.
So it's
either score or get scored against. And
we've lauded Pitnet's dominance
we have
in the last 3 weeks.
But they do flick the ball around from stoppage, which looks great when you get out. But once you've done that, you engage your high backs and they think that they're going to get involved in run and carry. If the ball turns over there, they're offside and it's going back the other way.
We laud them because they're number 1 and it catches your eye.
It does.
But then, if they're not scoring, they're getting scored against, which is putting them under some pressure.
And Carlton fans are probably saying, well, our back 6 is turned around, it's been changed and we've lost personnel, there's been a lot of injuries. Yes, I agree with that, but other sides have dealt with that and have taken a systems approach to defending stoppage. Geelong always have got an extra number somewhere, at least a sag at clearance, and they don't care as much to score as they do to defend score and then get into the turnover game.
Gaz, the Pies haven't lost a game since round 2.
Good point.
Hey, they've turned up. There's a draw involved in there as well. But they're back enjoying themselves.
An opening round.
That's right.
I think you're right. And you're the only one here qualified to talk about what it's like to come off a premiership. But we spoke to Scott Pendlebury post-game about the intensity that you've got to try and discover coming back after having won a premiership. And no judgment, I would think it would be enormously difficult after you've celebrated and achieved something that you can only hope and dream for, to come back and expect that level of intensity and then enjoyment. But look at this. These are the faces and the familiar scenes that we were experiencing at Collingwood late in 2023 all the time.
And the stuff that you see on field makes that celebration in the rooms possible, because I think you need to start with that energy, you need to start with that connection. But this is the area.
Got the hunt back.
And Craig McRae spoke about this, when they were asked to make a question at 0-3, what are they going to focus on? Pressure was going to be what they were focusing on. And it's not just the role players, it's the guy at the very top. So Nick Daicos was the 3rd highest pressure player in the evening. Now he went and finished with won the game with a goal at the end from stoppage. But right from the get-go, and I think this has been a strength of his throughout his progress, and especially as a midfielder, he puts a lot of pressure on the opposition. If he hasn't got the ball in his hands, he's prepared to go and chase, tackle and harass to put pressure on.
It was fantastic on the weekend. Just to be there live at the ground, Gaz, and see him the way he covers the ground, it's fantastic, wasn't he? He's a magnificent athlete, we know that. What I was impressed about, they're on the same page. the Pies for me. And Carlton were very good earlier, and it looked like they were going to run away with it. They got out to 19 points, no doubt about it. So their points against from turnover, the last 4 games, getting back to a strength of theirs. And I think part of it is their ability to control their way back into a game, isn't it, Bucks? Just with their ballmen, with ball in hand especially.
Yeah, so their defence has improved, and I think part of that has been around how they've actually moved the ball. What we see here is a more controlled build-up, and when they have gone long, they go long to a predictable spot, and they've got huge numbers in that area. So no wonder they have high pressure. If an opposition team wins it there, well, then they'll just pressure them. But as it is, they don't go fast from this like they did early in the season. They're prepared to let their forwards get back in front, their midfielders get in front, spread their defence and have them more ready for turnover. I think there's a couple of reasons. They've got older players that they're trying to protect. They don't want it to be an up and back game. And they had a second gamer and a first gamer in this game that aren't used to running at that intensity for 4 quarters. But they've still got assets that they can bring to the table if they're in a predictable, steady and consolidated ball use, which helps them defend.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that. And the veterans too, they were magnificent. You think there's 10 minutes to go in the last quarter. You need veteran presence to stand up. Now, this is probably a set play, but who do you want the ball in the hands of? Sidebottom and Pendlebury. 2 of the all-time greats, not only for this club, but in the AFL. Now, look at the coordination there. They're all on the same page here. So Daicos plays his role. You'll see Maynard come in from left. Schultz clears the space. And look at the old veteran just wander into the space, the connection there. So just great to see. You want the hands, you want the ball in the hands of a Tom Brady, not a rookie in those situations. Pendlebury went back and slotted the goal.
He might have learnt that in his basketball days.
Yeah.
Just to find
They'll be celebrating. I'm not sure Michael Voss and Carlton coaching group are going to be too impressed with that.